Welcome to the Burnfoot Flood Relief Scheme opening public consultation. This presentation sets out the background to the scheme, including the historical flood risk at Burnfoot and the work that was previously carried out to understand the level of flood risk and the development of potential flood risk management options at Burnfoot as part of previous flood studies. Moving forward into the scheme development phase, we wish to set out what is happening now in relation to determining the constraints and objectives of a flood relief scheme at Burnfoot, the collection of information to inform the development of a flood relief scheme, and the future stages and envisaged timeline for the development of a scheme. The project is being coordinated by the Project Steering Group led by Donegal County Council with support from the Office of Public Works. Shane McMonigal and Lorraine Arbuckle from Donegal County Council are leading the Project Steering Group. RPS have been appointed to provide the engineering and environmental services needed to support the development and delivery of the flood relief scheme. The RPS team is led by Andrew Jackson. Brendan Quigley, the project manager, is coordinating a team of flood risk professionals in the delivery of RPS services. Mark McGee is coordinating a team of ecologists and environmental scientists in the delivery of the environmental services. The Burnfoot community is central to the successful development and delivery of a flood relief scheme for Burnfoot. Local knowledge and experience of past flooding is invaluable in determining if the analysis which underpins the project is accurate. The community can help identify the constraints to development and delivery of the scheme and advise the project team what issues matter most in the delivery of a flood relief scheme for Burnfoot. Other regional and national stakeholder organisations could provide further input on the constraints which will shape the form of the development and delivery of the flood relief scheme. This presentation sets out the background to the scheme, including the historical flood risk at Burnfoot and the work that has previously been carried out to understand the level of flood risk and the development of potential flood risk management options at Castlefin as part of previous flood studies. Moving forward into the scheme development phase, we wish to set out what is happening now in relation to determining the constraints and objectives for a flood relief scheme at Burnfoot, the collection of information to inform the development of a flood relief scheme, and the future stages and envisaged timeline for the development of a scheme. Burnfoot has had a history of serious flooding, the most recent occurring in August 2017. Up to 30 homes were flooded, mostly in Loss na Grania and Park and Greenan, and at least 7 local businesses were affected. Roads in the area were damaged and a local wastewater treatment works suffered considerable damage also. The flooding was due to a high intensity rainfall event which focused on the northwest of the country and in particular in Ashoan. 73 millimetres of rainfall was recorded in an 8-hour period at the Malin Head hourly rainfall gauge, which is estimated to be at least a 1 in 100 year rainfall event. The Burnfoot River exceeded its banks, particularly on the lower south bank of the river upstream of the R238 Main Street Bridge. The R238 is an important regional road. The R238 bridge was impassable during the event, leading to long diversions for emergency services and the local community trying to access either the other side of the village or the rest of the Inishowen Peninsula. There is some evidence that the high intensity nature of the rainfall also led to flooding from other drains and watercourses in the area. Apart from the event that occurred in August 2017, there is very little information available on previous flood events at Burnfoot. Further information in relation to past flood events would be extremely useful to the project team in helping to understand the frequency of flooding at Burnfoot. Background to the scheme. To address flooding issues nationally, the Office of Public Works commissioned and completed catchment and flood risk management studies covering the entire country. The Northwestern Naban CFRAM study, the study which covered County Donegal, was completed with support from Donegal County Council. An output of the study identified flood risk areas, including Burnfoot, and the associated impacts of flooding. The study also prepared flood risk management plans, which set out the measures and policies to be pursued in order to achieve the most cost-effective and sustainable management of flood risk. Following the 2017 flooding at Burnfoot, the OPW commissioned a cost review study to update the technical inputs and determine if an economically viable flood relief option existed. The cost review study identified a number of viable options to mitigate the flood risk at Burnfoot. The flood maps that are available at www.floodinfo.ie set out the level of flood risk in Burnfoot at the time of the CFRAM study. Using the online map viewer available at floodinfo.ie to navigate to Burnfoot, users can access and download a range of flood maps providing information on the predicted flood extents, depths, and risks under a number of probability-based scenarios. The scenarios are expressed in terms of high probability, which represents a 10% chance of occurrence or exceedance in any given year, also referred to as a 1 in 10 year flood return period. Medium probability represents a 1% chance of occurrence or exceedance in any given year, also referred to as a 1 in 100 year return period. Low probability represents a 0.1% chance of occurrence or exceedance in any given year, and is also referred to as a 1 in 1,000 year return period. Your feedback on the accuracy of the CFRAM study maps would assist the reanalysis and refinement of the flood risk as part of the Burnfoot flood relief scheme. As mentioned previously, we estimate the flooding in 2017 to have had an approximate probability of occurrence in any given year of less than 1%, and would therefore expect the flooding that would have been observed by the community in Burnfoot in 2017 to have been equal to or greater than that shown for the 1% APC-FRAM mapped flood event. Following the modelling and mapping phase of the CFRAM study, different flood risk management measures were considered for Burnfoot. Technically viable measures were considered in combination to determine flood risk management options for Burnfoot. These options were then assessed against a range of technical, social, environmental and economic criteria. The preferred option identified was a series of hard defences protecting the low-lying flood routes into the town from the Burnfoot River. The 2017 cost review study identified a flood risk from a tributary of the Burnfoot River which enters from the north just upstream of the Main Street Bridge. This study further developed the potential options, including a combined hard defences and increased channel conveyance option, although the hard defence option remained the preferred option. Development of the Burnfoot Flood Relief Scheme. Following the launch of the CFRAM study findings as part of the Government's National Development Plan 2018 to 2027, almost €1 billion was committed to investment into flood relief measures across the country. Following this commitment, a steering group was established between the OPW and Donegal County Council to progress a flood relief scheme for Burnfoot to alleviate the risk of flooding for the community. RPS were appointed engineering and environmental consultants in July 2020 to develop a scheme that is technically, socially, environmentally and economically acceptable. The analysis to be undertaken as part of the scheme will build upon the analysis undertaken as part of the CFRAM study. Datasets will be updated to consider the most recent available information. The resolution of the analysis will be enhanced where appropriate, including the addition of other minor watercourses which may affect the level of flood risk. A preferred option will be identified such that it may be developed through planning, detailed construction design and delivery stages. Development of flood relief options will consider the interaction of flows in each of the water bodies and the associated impact on flooding in Burnfoot. Development of flood relief options will consider the impact on neighbouring communities such as Bridgend, in line with the requirements of the EU Floods Directive. The tasks which are currently ongoing include data collection. The project team are acquiring and reviewing all relevant sources of information. Topographical survey. A detailed survey specification has been issued to survey contractors with a view to acquiring up-to-date data on the rivers and floodplains. Hydrological analysis. Outputs of the hydrological analysis include estimates of flood flows to be used in the design analysis. Environmental constraint study. This is to ensure that environmental issues are considered early in the design process. Information on the scheme as it develops will be made available through the project website, available at www.countydonegalfrs/Burnfoot-FRS. The first project newsletter is available now to view on the website. Further newsletters will be released on a quarterly basis. This presentation is designed to introduce the opening public consultation for the scheme. The purpose of the opening public consultation is to display the process for developing the scheme and to gather valuable local knowledge from stakeholders and the public and to seek views in relation to key issues that should be addressed during scheme development. Information on the scheme has been delivered to a number of properties within the areas identified as at risk in the CFRAM study as part of the opening public consultation. This information is also available through the website and includes the opening public consultation brochure and a questionnaire. A key aspect of the opening public consultation is the identification of all the environmental constraints. These are the key environmental issues in the study area which may be impacted upon by possible flood relief measures and which may impose constraints on the viability or design of these measures. This includes issues which are important to the local community, and your feedback in relation to such issues is welcome and can be provided through the opening public consultation questionnaire, available through the website consultation portal. The Burnfoot flood relief scheme will be developed in 5 stages. Stage 1. Scheme development and design will involve the collection of all relevant data. A survey specification will be prepared, tendered and managed, and a hydrological and hydraulic analysis of the study area will be carried out. A full cost-benefit analysis of the scheme will also be undertaken. Stage 2. Planning. Stage 2 will involve preparation of all documentation required to progress the scheme through the necessary planning processes, including public display and other statutory processes as required. Stage 3. Detailed construction design and tender. Stage 3 will involve detailed design, preparation of tender documents, and a public competition to appoint a main works contractor. Stage 4. Construction. Construction will be carried out by a works contractor under supervision of the consultant following a public procurement competition. A functioning scheme will be in place at the end of Stage 4. Stage 5. Handover of the works. This involves the commission of the scheme and handover of the works by the main contractor. The programme for the scheme will be subject to change as the scheme develops. Technical and environmental constraints may alter the programme for the scheme as they become clear. It is envisaged that Stage 1, scheme development and design, will be completed by the middle of 2022. It is envisaged that Stage 2, planning, will be completed by the middle of 2023. It is envisaged that Stage 3, detailed construction design and tender, will be completed in the first half of 2024, with the main works contractor commencing the works at that point. Stage 4, construction, is envisaged to be completed before the end of 2025, at which point a functioning scheme will be in place. Stage 5, handover of the works, will be ongoing throughout the end of 2025 and into 2026. Information provided through this opening public consultation will be used to inform the development of the preferred flood relief scheme for Burnfoot. Once the preferred option has been identified by the project team, a second public consultation day will be held to let stakeholders and the public know how their observations, comments and submissions were used within the scheme development process. You can keep in touch with the project through the website, by email and by post. Submissions received, subject to your consent, may be used by the project team to contact you in the future regarding further development and news in relation to the scheme. Thank you for taking the time to engage with the opening public consultation for the Burnfoot Flood Relief Scheme.